Arkadaşlar hepiniz hoş geldiniz tekrar yeni yayınımıza. Anadolu Felsefe Topluluğu'nun yeni bir videosu olacak ve bugün muhteşem bir konuğumuz olacak. Ama bunun öncesinde ben kısaca yine yaptığımız etkinliklerden bahsetmek istiyorum. Samsun'da etkinliğimiz yapıldı, Bursa'da yapıldı. Onları takip edebilirsiniz. Ayrıca uluslararası alanda Dan Zahavi'yi ağırladık. Mark Wiensken-Meyer ağırladık. Ve daha birçok önemli isimli Anadolu Felsefe Topluluğu'nun ve Görkem Kılıç Felsefe ve diğer şeyler kanalında ağırladık. Ve bugün birebir, yüz yüze bir konuğu ağırlıyoruz. Bu benim için ve topluluk için büyük bir onur. Çünkü bugün ağırladığımız isim gerçekten çok önemli bir isim. Kendisini tanıtacağım ve etkinlik zaten İngilizce olacak ama altyazıya ulaşabilirsiniz. Şimdiden güzel ve eğlenceli bir yayın diliyorum. İlk önce Türkçe tanıtacağım kendisine. Tim Wilson, teoloji ve din çalışmaları alanında uluslararası düzeyde tanınan bir akademisyen. Oxford Üniversitesi ve Birmingham Üniversitesi'nde görev yapmış olan Wilson, özellikle Hristiyan teolojisi, dinler arası diyalog ve modern dünyada inanç sistemlerinin dönüşümü üzerine yaptığı çalışmalarla tanınıyor. Ayrıca kendisi çok iyi bir animasyon yapımcısı. Yaptığı bir animasyon 2019'da izleyicinin favorisi ödülünü aldı ve kendisi aktif şekilde kendisinden bir din profesörü az önce bahsettiğim gibi ve dindeki hikayeleri, diyelim bunların mitleri animasyonla gerçekleştiriyor, göz önüne sürüyor, somutlaştırıyor ve bu çok çok çok güzel bir iş. Şimdi izninizle dili değiştiriyorum ve Tim'e hoş geldin diyorum. Tim, welcome.
Hi. No, I didn't realize you were going to do all that in Turkish.
Yeah,
It's very impressive.
I just started with the Turkish, but I must change language. And welcome again. And
Thank
I will
you.
introduce you in your mother tongue right now. If you.
Oh, you're going to say the same thing again?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
I will say the same thing. So we are together with a multi-talented person, everybody. Tim Wilson. Tim Wilson is an internationally recognized scholar in theology and religion studies. Having served at both the University of Oxford and the University of Birmingham, Wilson is particularly known for his work on Christian theology, interfaith dialogue, and the transmission of belief systems in modern world. What makes Tim Wilson's work truly unique is the integration of deep theological insight with visual storytelling. So we are together a genius, actually. So I just want to say thank you, and it's an honor for me and our society, actually.
Well, it's an honor to be here.
Really?
Really.
Okay,
It's very nice.
So you are professor of theology, which means you taught the gods, actually, and the religions.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I tried. I was also a professor of education, so I never quite know which one takes precedence.
Yeah, okay. But I actually interested in theology.
Yeah.
And today I have many questions for you.
Go on, fire away.
Yeah. I guess it will be perfect, and I'm so excited with it. So let's start with the brief questions. Is it okay for you?
With
Brief questions.
go on, fire away.
Yeah.
Brief questions don't necessarily get brief answers.
Yeah, generally.
As you know.
Yeah, generally. Okay. Tim, what is the boundary between religion and ideology? When does a belief system become a religion, and when does it turn into an ideology?
Oh my goodness, I don't think I know. A religion seems to be a formal thing. An ideology is a formal thing. Ideology would suggest something, some sort of aim. A religion could be anything. We could have a religion which is based on the worship of this pot plant.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't need to have God. An ideology is really an obsessive following after something, and again, it doesn't need to be formal.
Yeah.
So for example, you could have a political ideology.
Yeah.
Which some people could follow so fervently you would think it was a religion, and it's something which is all-consuming. So when you come to the big religions, so the big three, Christianity, Islam, and Judaism,
Yeah.
you're thinking about religions which are trying to define and control ordinary life.
Yes. Exactly.
And so in that sense, they are both ideologies and religions, I suppose.
Whoa, this is very impressive
Yeah.
interpretation, by the way. But sometimes I see that some people being obsessive with their religion and their beliefs.
Well, particularly converts.
Yeah.
Because they're trying to convince themselves as well as other people.
Yes.
And it's very interesting. Of those three religions, Islam and Christianity are proselytizing religions. They want to convert people. They feel that it's the mission to share
Yes.
their conviction. Whereas Judaism doesn't want to proselytize.
Yes, yes.
But this is a new idea. This is a post-Christianity idea. So at the time of Christ, Judaism was a proselytizing religion as well, and people were enthusiastically embracing Judaism, but they were enthusiastic. In the Roman Empire, they were enthusiastically embracing anything that presented a life beyond this one, because this one was so nasty, brutish, and short.
Yeah.
And if you were a slave or a or somebody sort of out in the sticks, you could only hope that the next life would be better.
Yes.
So, or a soldier. So, for example, you've got the Mithras tradition, and you've got all these mystery religions going on, coming often from Egypt, and maybe Christianity takes quite a lot from that, but so does Judaism. Judaism transforms. If you go to the beginning of the Jewish scriptures, there isn't. I'm going to say something so shocking here. There is no hint of an afterlife.
Really?
So if you go to Genesis 38, which is the story of Onan, it's so clear there that your afterlife is through your children.
Oh my God.
And in the case of Onan, he's expected to have children for his older brother who has died unexpectedly.
Whoa, that's very interesting.
And he doesn't go along with this plan because he wants his own afterlife. He wants his own children. He doesn't want to do the job for his brother who's dead. And of course he's struck down dead because of this this selfish act. But that particular story tells us that early Judaism wasn't really interested. It hadn't thought of the idea of an afterlife, as for example Plato thinks of an afterlife and a pre-life. He thinks very much of a spiritual life is superior, and that gives us Gnosticism, which dominates the 1st, 2nd century.
Yeah.
With the idea that the next life must be better than this one.
Yes.
And Islam picks up some of these ideas because it has no choice, because it's in that milieu. And anyway, people were living in a particularly severe part of the world. You know, in Mecca and Medina.
Yeah.
This is a tough place to live, I would say.
Yeah.
And during war.
Yeah,
you know.
Unfortunately. And Islam says we are universal. And actually, do you know something about the Christianity? Christianity says we are universal or not?
Well, it does. Of course it does. Because we are... Christianity picks up the Jewish idea that we're made in the image of God. And therefore, whoever we are, we share one central common feature, that we are godlike.
Yeah.
So we are universal.
Okay.
And I don't know whether that was necessarily the early Christian idea, but the early Christians were Jews. It was just a form of Judaism. And it doesn't really become Christianity as such, even when Constantine picks it up and makes Constantinople, Istanbul. The center of Christianity and the center of the world. And named after him. But even then, it's not quite Christianity, because there are competing versions of Christianity. It's only when Iznik and Nicaea takes place in 324, I think. 324. And 325. Sorry, it's the anniversary this year. 325, and it's only when that takes place that you have a clearly defined statement of universal Christianity, and that gets into trouble in the 11th century, 7th century with the Filioque, when when the Greek church says the Latin church has taken a word, has added a word, and the Latin church says the Greek church has lost a word, and that word in Latin is simply one word, filioque, and it distorts the concept of the unity of God.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, that's what the Greeks were saying.
Okay. That's very.
And they have a good, and then you get the Protestant revolution, which is then a breaking away from the Roman Church, and then today you have 600 or 800 different versions of Christianity, I believe.
Yes. We are living with that, and also
and that takes you back. Who's the funny fellow who says that religion moves from polytheism to monotheism or something?
I don't know.
I don't think there is a linear progress.
Yeah.
Because even in early Judaism, time of Isaiah, what you've really got is a thing called henotheism, which is the recognition that there are other gods, but our God is the best. The other gods are insignificant.
Yeah.
So there may even Islam is picking up on that idea with the jinn.
Yeah.
So there are other spiritual beings who may think they're gods, but they're not.
I have a question about it actually, but
I'm sorry.
We need to wait. So
right, let's go on. I've been waffling away.
No, it's perfect. I'm serious about it. So, if I may, I will continue with the second question.
Go on, yes.
Okay.
These are supposed to be quick questions.
Okay. Secularization theories generally predicted that religion would retreat with modernization. However, today we still see religion playing a strong role globally. How do you explain this phenomenon?
Well, you've got the wrong word. You talk about secularization. What we should do is go back to the industrial revolution, or even to the Enlightenment. So religion ought to be suppressed by the Enlightenment. But in fact, it's the Enlightenment which gives us these 800 versions of Christianity, the multiplicity. So once you can start printing, as opposed to relying on the poor little monk in the cell, or relying on Muslims to remember perfectly, to be Hafiz, to remember perfectly the
I have a question about
the text. Once you've got the printing press, the floodgates are open, and you can question everything and reprint everything. You know, there's a fellow in Britain who's currently in prison, called Tommy Robinson, who's produced a version of the Quran which he believes is re-edited so that all the surah are in order, are in chronological order.
So
it's not a very academic piece of. It's not a very academic work. But it is interesting. He can only do that because there is a printing press.
Yes, and I saw the documentary which is about the Quran, and they say it's have been changed many times in the time, actually, because there's some surahs about the woman, let's say, in the heaven, but they say no, it's not a woman actually, it's a piece of some fruits.
It's there is so all this textual criticism was developed really for the Iliad and the Odyssey in the 19th century, and then it was applied to the Christian Bible.
Oh my God!
And particularly to Genesis, and then to the synoptic Gospels. And the big question was who wrote this bit first, and what order should it be in? So Tommy Robinson's rejigging of the Quran is within that tradition. It's just that he's not clever enough to do it right. And he's a sweet boy, but he is in prison. Let's not forget that fact. And he's in prison because he's got some very strange views. I think he's being over punished, a little bit like Julian Assange, but nevertheless, he's he did a talk at the Oxford Union, and it was very interesting. But he has a particular understanding of Islam, which I think is foolish. It's a sort of political understanding of Islam, and it's an understanding of Islam as a threatening creed. I don't think Islam is a threatening creed, because, and this is the point, the text, whether it's Judaism, whether it's the Jewish text, the Christian text or the Islamic text is the preserve of the community. So you cannot open or you cannot recite the Quran without it being understood in the light of the Hadiths. The Hadiths are the things which we need to criticize, rather than to say, did this surah exist in this particular form? Is this word actually what is meant? Because it's much harder with the Quran to say this, because it wasn't really preserved or passed on with the written word. It was passed on with an oral tradition of memory. And that could be, arguably, much more secure than this oral tradition where you've got the marginalia creeping into the text. So so just one letter will change a word completely. And that letter could have crept in. So there's a really nice example in the shortest book in the Bible, which is a letter of St. Paul to Philemon, and about a slave called Onesimus. And Paul says, send the slave back to his master, which is a disturbing thought now. But Paul says, I'm speaking to you now as it could be as an old man or a presbyter, as a church officer. And it's just one word, one letter. Could have been added or taken away. And you don't really have that discussion in the Quran. You're talking about whole words or whole ideas, because it's more conceptual, because it's preserved in the memory.
And we say that chain of transmission, actually.
Exactly.
The isnat,
it's a different concept. So the ideas of form criticism and the things which developed in Germany in the late 19th century don't quite work with the Quran. They work with the Hadiths. And they work with the life of the Prophet and things which are clearly written down, but the Quran is much harder.
Probably, but I'm smiling because of that. When I ask a question, guys, he answered two of them. Because
I'm sorry.
I have a question about.
You're going to have to go through this and edit all your plans.
When I ask a question,
Yeah,
just one question, and you answered the two of them. That's perfect.
I was doing a thing a few months ago about reality TV, and I was on stage with some sort of vaguely famous people. A fellow called Rylan, who's got teeth, and he was sitting there. We were sitting next to each other, and I was asked a question which should have generated a very simple answer. In fact, I started telling a story, and the lady who was comparing this meeting tried to get in the way, and Ryan steps and says, "I'm going to get the popcorn," and he let me go on. I was in heaven.
They need a popcorn, actually.
You need popcorn.
Yes, guys. Okay, I'm continue.
Yeah.
So, okay, let's continue with it. What do the differences in shared narratives, Adam and Eve, Noah's flood, among the Old Testament and New Testament and the Quran, of course?
Yes. Well, you mentioned two, very specific, Adam and Eve and Noah. Take Noah first. So the Christian interpretation of Noah's flood is that it is a punishment. The Islamic interpretation is that it's a warning.
Yes.
And that's quite a different
that's very interesting.
take on things. And the Adam and Eve, the Adam and Eve story, as indeed one of your colleagues is particularly in love with John Milton, as I am. And John Milton explores this idea. But Adam and Eve are punished for sin, hematia, a failing, and then you get the division between East and West, between following Augustine or following a much more Greek understanding of the collapse of the world order through decay, really, which brings in death. Whereas Augustine would say death is a punishment. For Islam, it's not a sin; it's forgetfulness, which I think, frankly, the early fathers of the church would have considered fairly sinful in its own right. You have no right to forget the person who's just made you. And what he told you to do. So forgetfulness is not really an excuse. Oh, I forgot. Well, you're still not going to get into Oxford. You learn your multiplication tables, and if you forget, that's your fault. You get no rewards for saying I can't remember.
Yeah, probably. But you're right. In the Islamic tradition, they say always it's a significance of rebirth, actually, because after Noah, we started to live a new version of the life without the sins, because they.
Well, this is in all of the traditions. So it's often represented in the Jewish traditions of having these very long lives.
Yeah.
So you go back to the thing we started off about. Is there an afterlife? No, you just have a particularly long life on earth, and then you die, and you are remembered in the books, or in the stars. And it's a Greek idea as well. The Greeks didn't have an afterlife. Either you became a star, or you were sort of vague memory, a sort of shadow under the earth. Yeah. That was it. And then the Iliad, I think, is it Iliad? I think it's the Odyssey. Suddenly has this idea that you can talk to the shadows, to the shades. It's very Ursula K. Le Guin.
But can we say that for the Roman Empire, because after the Caesars, that his nephew, Octavius, created a new church for him.
Well, he didn't actually.
Really?
No, he didn't call himself a god. Other people did, and Caesar was called a god as well. But this idea of the deification of individuals that was already running around. Hercules gets it. So it's already in the. So if you are a god, then you are going to continue living. There's no point in ordinary people living. Gherkin may have an afterlife. Tim won't. Tim only lives to serve others. Therefore, once this life is over, and I built a few pyramids, that's it. It's only the pharaoh who is going to glory. You see your name.
Yes,
there we are. But it's only the pharaoh who deserves an afterlife, because the pharaoh is a symbol of authority. The pharaoh is a symbol of God.
Yeah.
And ordinary people, they don't deserve an afterlife. So it's only once you get into that sort of thing of sort of universal Platonism through Gnosticism, where Platonism, this philosophy, becomes a religion,
That's a good point.
and then becomes a superstition as well, and keeps and it creeps into so many other traditions.
So I have a
Even in the 19th century, William Blake was a Gnostic.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes, that's true. And I have a question about it. So you said that when the philosophy became a religion, actually.
Well, the Greeks didn't know the difference between religion and philosophy.
Yes, and
so the Greeks would call everything a philosophy.
Exactly. They call the science as a philosophy either. So
for example, Pythagoras, the Pythagoreans basically had a religion based on mathematics, which is lovely.
They have rituals.
Yeah,
they have rituals.
But the idea, so they're Masons. So the idea of the idea of mathematics as religious turns up in mysticism again and again. It turns up in Sufism. It turns up in the Kabbalah. And it turns up, of course, in Christianity. Where 3 is 1. But 3 is 1 is also there in the tree of life in the in Kabbalism, which is probably why you're not supposed to study Kabbalism until you're 30.
But I know that. So Isaac Newton worked in alchemy, and
oh yes, you've worked in alchemy.
No, I just read some.
You've just read some. So alchemy is of course a Muslim word. And it's bastardized into the word chemistry. Newton, the man with the apple. He thought of himself as an alchemist.
Yes. I said that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's very interesting actually. So we need to be careful actually when the religion become a philosophy.
We need to be careful about prejudice. And we need to embrace other people's ideas, which may not be our ideas. We then call them, that's a heresy, but that's a superstition, or that's fake. Fake news is only when you're trying to promote your own idea, and that becomes propaganda. But propaganda itself is a word which was coined by the Catholic Church, the propagation of the faith. It's about making sure it's just another form of education.
Exactly, and I know you don't like Nietzsche so much, but he said, yeah, I'm sorry for
We've had conversations before this one.
yes, but and he said that one person rejected all the gods and he supported one god, and they cursed him. Roman Empire and the Jesus, the relation between them. So actually, the fake one can be the truth in the future. It's very important, actually.
But you don't have evidence that so Nietzsche is talking about Jesus, and you don't have evidence that Jesus rejected all the other gods.
In the Roman Empire,
You don't have evidence. So,
yeah,
and it's not clear. It's not clear even at that time that Judaism was exclusively was contemptuous of other monotheistic traditions. There was a lot of syncretism going on, a lot more than we would like to recognize today. We want simplicity. There isn't simplicity in human belief, because people are hedging their bets. Religion, when it starts off, is a sort of insurance policy. I make sure my crop will the stuff I planted will grow by making little sacrifices to the gods before spring comes round. And if the crops don't grow, then I clearly didn't make the right sacrifice or make enough of a sacrifice.
Yeah.
And if the enemy is attacking, then I need to make a bigger sacrifice.
Yeah.
And so people in the ancient world, they thought, oh gosh, maybe the other people are right. For example, here in Turkey, you have the iconoclast controversy, which doesn't occur in the West. So next to Hagia Sophia, there's a little church. I forget what it's called, and it's got no icons in. It's got a great cross on the eastern wall. That's it, because that was an iconoclast structure.
Yes.
And the iconoclasm occurs because the Greeks look at the sudden waves of the Turks coming towards the Byzantine Empire, and they think, they claim to have the same God as us, but is there something wrong? Maybe they're taking care of the second commandment, depending on how you work out the 10 commandments. They're taking care of the second commandment. You should have no graven image, and we've got graven images everywhere. Get rid of them. And so that is a form of syncretism, isn't it?
Yes.
And eventually it's defeated by the wonderful Gregory Palamas. It's defeated by John Damascene, John of Damascus, who and John of Damascus is celebrated at the beginning of Orthodox Christian Lent by people parading their icons in the church. Icons then become not allowed, but central to the cult of Orthodox Christianity.
Wow,
and of course it's rejected by Islam.
Really?
Well, Islam rejects it first. Islam rejects it in the 7th century because it's looking at the text, possibly, of the 10 Commandments, which says you shall have no graven image. So, no graven image. But then you go around the mosques and you see these beautiful works of art. And for example, there's a mosque in Tirana, in Albania, which has got sort of paintings of landscape paintings on the outside of the door. Beautiful.
Yeah, well, I haven't been there, so I hope I can. I will take a chance to see all of them. So
and people. And also, once you get it, so if you move into that period, for example, in Albania, everybody is into marrying. You've got Christians marrying Jews, you've got Muslims marrying Christians, and so what religion is actually occurring? You're getting a mixture. Yeah. No matter whether one religion is preferred, what you get is a mixture.
Yes.
And you find, even in Istanbul, I find people have got little things of the evil eye, which surely is not Islamic.
No, it's not. It's from the pagan.
Well, I think,
pagan tradition.
Yeah, and it's picked up by Greek Orthodoxy in a big way, and they've also got little things of Santa. The Santa may be ultimately Turkish, but he's certainly not an Islamic principle.
Yes, you're right. But probably they have no clue about it.
But it is a principle of charity. It's a manifestation of charity because the idea of Santa Claus is about charitable giving, which is central to Islam.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there you are. You see, I've just restored the principles,
yes,
the 5 pillars, or at least one of them.
Yes, and you combined all of the questions very beautifully.
Not the rest of your questions. You've still got a few more to
No,
go.
I have still questions.
Right,
Just
go on.
wait. And I have a very beautiful question for you because it's about the AC Grayling.
Oh!
Which we talked about
Yes,
yesterday.
he's not your friend. He's not the friend of Islam.
Yeah, I know.
He's
I know
written a lot of books.
Yeah, I know that. So, the process of the secularization brought significant transformation to Christianity. Why has this process been more challenging for Islam and Judaism?
Well, he thinks that monotheism is a sort of form of authoritarianism.
Yeah.
And in that, I don't think he's right. I think all religion is a form of authoritarianism. It's a form of, it's an attempt to establish order within society because no religion exists independently of society. You don't have a religion which you just do on a Sunday or a Saturday or a Friday. That is a modern fake idea. Religion has always invaded society and tried to inform society. So Grayling is his.
No, it's not from the Grayling, actually. I have another question for Grayling. Just
What? Who said this thing?
I don't know. It's a question. I have been reading it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
right.
no problem.
I've now forgotten what you
But
said.
let's continue. Okay, let's continue with the Grayling. Actually,
Go on.
You really want to do that. Actually, AC Grayling
Yeah.
argues that there was no genuine philosophical movement in Islam, but rather a translation moment. What is your perspective on this claim? Actually,
I think it's childish. It doesn't surprise me of Grayling at all. But I mean, it's something to do with the hair.
he says that
No, it's childish because you could say the same thing about Jesus, and I can't remember the name of this wonderful American who actually says that the crucifixion never took place. It was a crucifixion in the sky on the moon, and that there are 6 or 7 other mystery gods who were crucified and became savior redeemers and all that sort of stuff. And the Jesus myth, which I'm sure is a perfectly good. A myth is a story you tell because you can't quite identify the fundamental truths.
yes,
So,
exactly.
So there's a good deal of myth in early Christianity, as there's a good deal of myth in early Judaism. But you could say the same thing, that Abraham didn't exist, that Moses didn't exist. And is there any evidence for the existence of Abraham or Moses or Noah? Absolutely none.
No.
But does it mean they don't exist? No, because these are projections of concepts, and those concepts are perfectly worthy.
Yeah.
And if the historical figures don't exist, it's not their purpose to be writing. Their purpose is not history.
Yes.
Their purpose is to provide a context for the religious tradition. In terms of Christianity, is what Jesus says important? Not really, because the sayings of Jesus can be paralleled almost verbatim with the various rabbinic sayings that you can find in the Talmud. And Gerzer Vamesh is very good at establishing all this, and E.P. Sand is very good at establishing all this. So it's not the words, the ipsissima verba of Christ that are important. The Christian message is about the identification with Christ.
Yeah.
And that's a different thing entirely. The Christian message isn't even about, and Protestants will hate me here, but I don't care. The Christian message isn't even about the crucifixion. The Christian message is about the incarnation, which shows that human beings, following the fall of the Garden of Eden, human beings have the capacity to become godlike,
Yes.
to aspire to greatness.
Yes.
And that is something which you find all the way through ancient Rome and Greek mythology. You find it in Egyptian mythology. You find it. It is fundamental to Islam that we aspire to be as good as we can be.
Yes.
Now, how do you do that? You do that by following a tradition, You do that in community. You become greater in community.
Yes,
And
yes.
so the idea that Muhammad is an invention, he's not an invention. If he was an invention, that would be a very early piece of invention. You'd have to. Who invented him? I mean, I just. This is to try and demean the religion.
Yeah.
To say, oh, it's not historical.
Yeah.
No religion, none of the great religions are historical because they're not trying to write history.
Yes.
You occasionally get a historical moment. So, for example, in the New Testament, you get the we passages in the Acts of the Apostles, where you have where the pronoun changes. Modern audience is going to love that. The pronoun changes from they to we. And suddenly you've got a first person narrative of a shipwreck.
Yes.
It's the only first person narrative of a shipwreck in the Roman in the beginning of the Roman Empire at that time.
Yes.
And it's very interesting, but that's the only bit of historical text in the entire biblical canon. And there's nothing parallel with that in Islam at all until you get the life of the Prophet.
Yes, but Asa Grellin says this sentence in the history of the philosophy, and which is
there's not any evidence that Socrates existed.
Yeah, of course, but he claims that there is no philosophy because they have already had the God, which means they have already had the truth. So philosophical movement is searching for the truth. That's why they didn't philosophy. They just translated some text from the Aristotle, and after that they published it. So what's your perspective of this sentence? Of this perspective actually?
Well,
Grellin says they have the truth. The philosopher of the Islam, per-Islamic way, like Ibn Sina, Avicenna, or
no, because he's the only reason Islam has access to the philosophy of Aristotle is because the Caliph of Baghdad sent his scholars out to go and collect all these books.
Yes,
and then translate them into common language, which is Arabic.
He created an ecole.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, what yes. Divan Hikmet.
I can't remember what it's called. It's the Wonders, the House of Wonders or something.
Yeah,
the House of Wisdom.
Yes.
The House of Wisdom.
The House
there you
of
are.
Wisdom.
That is about 100 years after the life of the Prophet.
Yeah.
So Grayling is just talking rubbish, but I mean, if you can get in print, then you have every opportunity to talk rubbish again and again. He needs an editor, who would reduce his books from this size down to this size,
who has deep information about the
But there are plenty of authors who get up themselves. Iris Murdoch, love her to bits. She needed an editor in her last two books, I'm afraid. So the last few books that she wrote are really difficult to read. Whereas if you go back to the early books like the Sacred and Profane Love, that's a middle book, but the Sacred and Profane Love Machine is one of the best books ever written.
Yeah.
But it's been quite carefully pruned, and she did something that Grayling could learn from. She wrote a whole book, and she put it in a bottom drawer. And she started again and she rewrote it.
Whoa.
By hand. And it makes you rethink, it makes you think all the ideas. So when you're writing first time, who is it? The American man says, kill your darlings. She killed her darlings.
Give me a second.
Daniel Radcliffe played the part in the film.
Yes. I watched the movie, but I couldn't.
There we are. We've referenced it. Let's go on. Ask another
Jack
question.
Kerouac and the other guy.
It's the other guy.
Arthur or something.
Yeah, but there is a debate about if he actually said "kill your darlings." There are one or two other people who claim to have said that too.
Yes. Did you watch the movie?
Yeah,
it was perfect.
It's extraordinary, and it shows again how Daniel Radcliffe has risen beyond the confines of J.K. Rowling.
Yeah.
Who is, I have so much to say about J.K. Rowling.
By the way, many people in there they say you look like Professor Dumbledore.
Well, when I was on stage last time, yes, I did. And do I behave like Professor Dumbledore? Probably.
Yeah.
Am I going to be thrown out? Am I going to be killed before the last book? I hope not.
No. You have a very long time.
You're very kind.
Yeah. Okay, let's continue with Hadiths.
With
Hadiths.
the Hadiths, I don't.
Yeah.
Go on.
Yeah, let's start with it. In Islam, Hadiths are among the most important texts transmitted through oral tradition. Since they were not written down in the early periods, what kind of debates has this sparked regarding their authenticity?
Well, again, we only know the Hadiths because they are written down now.
Yeah.
But the whole problem about the Hadiths is they're sectarian. I'm treading on so many
You are
toes here, aren't I?
You are doing very well.
Am I doing very well?
Yeah, you are doing very well. You're my guest.
You've got one hadith which is which is a foundation of a Sunni approach, and one hadith is a foundation of a Shia approach.
Yeah.
Well, if these hadiths go back all the way, genuinely go back all the way to the Prophet, there would be one solid understanding. There isn't.
But it couldn't be actually.
It couldn't be because the hadiths are like the Talmud. They're debates about how does this idea enter the community? How do we interpret this? We interpret this through our lived experience. And the lived experience, by the time the hadiths are being circulated, the lived experience was already fragmented, and you get that in all the religions.
But I think
it's and the reason they exist, the reason we have these now, is because Islam is a much later development.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's true.
What is so extraordinary is that the Book of Mormon has no hadiths or anything; it's just there, and you think, well, that's to do with printing. But before printing, you've got far more evidence of the fracturing of the traditions, which is about authority, which is about control, which is about human beings.
Yeah.
Human institutions are notoriously difficult to hold together beyond a few years.
Yeah, but it's very interesting actually. After Muhammad dies, Abu Bakr, one of the half, tried to gather all of the text and create a book, correct? But after Muhammad dies, after they tried to create a book, and again after he died and so many years later, they tried to gather all of the sentences of the Muhammad.
Yes.
So
the life of the Prophet.
Yeah. What's the point? I mean,
it's exactly the same. It's exactly the same genesis as Christianity. It's just the period of time before people realize we need this written down.
Yes.
Is smaller. And of course the movement is bigger. Is very quickly enormous. Islam develops very fast.
Yes.
And sweeps through the Arabic-speaking world.
Yeah.
Because it's got a common language.
Yeah.
And Christianity could have done that, but there was a lot of competition.
Yes.
And Christianity, of course, had the advantage of a common language, which is Greek.
Greek. Yes, but this is actually interesting because.
And gutter Greek at that, just common Greek.
For Christianity, I mean, Christianity has many Bibles, New Testaments, actually.
Well, it has many books. The Bible simply means a library.
Yes.
Biblos.
That's true. But do you know anything common sense in Islam for this subject? I mean, do we have many Qurans or? Let's talk about it. Yeah, I really want to know. Have you ever heard it?
Yes.
Really?
Yes. I've heard about texts which are disputed.
Really?
Yes, but I'm not going to talk about it. The fatwas have been issued for more than that. So I'm not going to get into that one.
My career, by the way.
but there are many hadiths, of course. You're so naughty.
I don't know. I just want to ask this question because we need
Scholarship will develop.
Yes,
there will be.
we have to
Now
talk
is
it.
not the time. Now is not the time to be developing. And the tools which were developed to start analysing the Bible, the book, the Iliad, and the Odyssey, are not appropriate to the Quran. But scholarship is appropriate to the Quran even now. It's just not those questions. Those questions I think are inappropriate because they don't lead anywhere. They don't lead anywhere even with the Bible.
Yeah.
Who cares who wrote the first version of the Gospels?
Yes,
Who cares whether there's an E source or a J source in Genesis?
Yeah.
The P source and the D source are quite interesting. But you know, once you do this, the only person this benefits, this sort of textual analysis, which is interesting, the only person it benefits is the teacher who wants to see which student has cheated and which student has copied someone else. And it's immediately obvious. Yeah, if you spend your time trying to work out the minutiae of who might have taken that word from there, and you're looking at this the synoptic gospels placed side by side, it's fascinating looking at the words which appear in the same text, in the same version of the text, and how they've been changed.
Yeah.
And you can think, well, which one? But you can argue it in all directions. It's just an interesting. It's an interesting discussion. It's not taking you anywhere because in the end, that's not the issue about the tradition. The tradition is about how the community uses that text, and if you take that conclusion, your question is absurd. Let's put you in your place.
Okay. Yes, we need to talk it later, actually.
But the hadiths, I will go anywhere with the hadiths because I think the hadiths and some of these secondary writings are clearly there's some clear troublemakers.
Yes,
who are putting forward ideas and some of the nastiness is immediately obvious. How do you interpret this word in the Quran, and suddenly you're interpreting it in a very specific legal way, and that's not what's in the Quran.
Yeah. And it has. I mean, some hadiths have a point, which is against the Quran surahs.
Yes.
Yeah, this is interesting.
Absolutely. And you're saying that, and I'm suddenly thinking, I have an example, and now I can't think what that example is. It's getting late.
Yeah, but
my mind is turning into jelly.
No, you will.
I will remember.
You will remember
maybe.
it after we shut down the cameras. Actually, okay. Okay. And a question for you.
That's l'esprit d'escalier. L'esprit d'escalier is when you come out of a French salon, and you're going down the stairs to the street. Oh, I wish I'd said that.
Yes.
You know, Oscar Wilde said that, and his friend said, "Oh, you will, Oscar."
Yes. Okay. Let's continue with another question. Is it possible for these three religions to come together and establish a common ethical framework, or do theological differences make this impossible?
We already have an ethical framework, a common ethical framework,
for this three,
which is the Judeo-Christian, Islamic ethical tradition, which is fairly common. What we don't have is a common theological framework.
Yes, can this framework
develop?
Become a religion itself?
No, because it's already the cultural, the theatre of the three religions is defined by the culture in which they emerged and in which they have been experienced, and to try and combine them would be to go slightly too far. There's something rather wonderful about, for example, Hasidic Judaism, which is very exclusive and very introspective, and you can never imagine. You know, they have. They don't pronounce the name of Jesus. They distort names. They guard their own tradition. They don't have televisions in some extreme versions. It's like the sewer that runs through the living room. One rabbi told me, which was a great idea. But you know, I think the television is a wonderful form of communication.
Yes, you're right. And you are very, very active on the televisions and on the YouTube. You are really the person who has many talented. Yeah, you are totally.
You have to seize them. The modern medium is television, whether that's in the form of social media or whether that's in the traditional form of the television itself. Who knows? But it's the book has been slightly bypassed. I love books.
I love books too.
But
I'm sorry for them.
But yeah, maybe we will rediscover the book. But at the moment, our main form of communication is through this visual verbal thing, and it's the visual thing which is more important than the verbal. What we're doing now is sort of slightly old school. We should be doing visuals. If we did visuals, this would be much more compelling as a conversation.
Okay, so I have a question, and I'm sure that you will adore it.
Go on.
Because it's about the Protestantism.
Ah, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Protestantism. The word means to shout.
Shout, yeah.
Yeah.
Protestantism. I'm sorry for that. Protestantism radically altered Christian doctrines, structures of authority, and the understanding of personal faith. The Reformation was not just a religion transformation, but also a social and intellectual revelation. Despite facing severe persecution, how did Protestantism contribute to Europe's leadership in science and the arts?
So Protestantism could not have emerged, could not have developed without all the war going on in what is now Germany. Martin Luther is part of all that struggle, and at the same time, it could not have developed without the Gutenberg Bible and without printing.
Yes.
So Protestantism gives. It's a way of channeling individuality. Up to that point, people are not individuals, they are groups. And you are defined by your group. Now suddenly Protestantism is defined by your individualism, sola fide. But if you look at, I think it's James 2, the letter of James, it says you are not saved by faith alone, you are saved by the works you do. That is in the Bible. How could you possibly... What I don't understand about Martin Luther is how he's so obsessed with the Bible, with the text is the source of his belief, and the church should follow the text, that he doesn't notice James, the letter of James.
Yeah.
And I think he deals with it at some point, I can't remember. But the text of the Bible is there because the church decided what texts would be acceptable. There's so many Gospels.
Yes.
4 of them have been selected, but there's plenty of others which we keep coming across. There's the Old Testament is enormous. There's so many works in the Old Testament that are not accepted in, for example, the Septuagint. And it's the church that defined it. In the same way as Judaism eventually defines what is its canon, and Islam defines what it wants as a canon of text which it accepts in whichever tradition it is, Sufi, Sunni, Shia, or some of the derived Baha'i, some of the derived traditions. But Protestantism is about individuality, and once you start saying, oh, the text is open for you to define it on your own. Away from your community, well, of course, you start developing your own communities, but they just proliferate. And which text are you going to use? Are you going to use the Greek text of the New Testament, the Hebrew text of the Old Testament? Are you going to use the Aramaic text of Daniel? Which form of Arabic are you going? The Egyptians will have a very, very firm opinion about which is the best Arabic, but there are different forms of Arabic that turn up even within the core Islamic texts, particularly the Hadiths.
Yeah.
And so are you going to rely on a translation? There are plenty of people who mouth the Arabic words. I have no idea what it means, and the same thing is true of Greek or Hebrew. And these words or these letters themselves, in so many traditions, become sacred.
But it is a very interesting idea, actually. We talked about Jared Rubin, by the way. Jared Rubin, who is professor at the Stanford University.
We did, yes.
Yeah, we did. So he says that the reason of the Middle East, let's say, less development area, according to, with respect to the Europe, the reason of that, they couldn't publish. They couldn't publish the Quran, but the first time, I'm sorry, what was the name? The first printed Bible.
Oh, the Gutenberg.
Gutenberg. Yeah. The Gutenberg. He printed the Bible, and as you mentioned before,
but also the Septuagint, published in what was 100 years BC. Or 200 years BC, but written out anyway. But there will be Jewish communities that fast to commemorate that distortion of the tradition. So when you translate the Quran into English or Turkish, you are destroying the original, aren't you? Traditore transitori, isn't that Dante says this? Yeah. A translator is a traitor. Because you are trying to. You're interpreting words.
Yes. So you believe that if you translate, let's say the.
Oh, I think a translation is a wonderful thing, but it's a creation. It's a new work.
It's a new work. Yeah. So whenever we translate a text, actually we are doing a creation.
Yes.
Can we say that?
Yes.
So
you are creating something new. So if you're translating into another language, you are creating something new in some form, yes.
So how it could be the indifferences?
Well, the difference is I haven't looked at the Quran, the Arabic text of the Quran and compared that to an English translation for so long. And when I studied Arabic, I was so clinging to the English text. I was like a sort of poodle, really. And I thought, oh, I'm very good. I can do them. By the time I took my exams in Quranic Arabic, I'd pretty well forgotten it. So now I can barely open a text, but it's I can't open a text. I do remember some of the sounds, but I consider myself a bit of a dunce when it comes to that Arabic, really.
Okay.
Because I can't. I'm dependent on translations.
What's your opinion?
Whereas Greek I'm comfortable in, and Hebrew I'm comfortable in.
And your mother tongue is Greek?
My mother tongue is English.
English, right? Yeah. But we talked about yesterday.
The
Greeks. I'm not sure about.
My mother ultimately had a Jewish background, but she was brought up as a Catholic. My father was a Protestant. I was adopted as a baby. It gets even more complicated, but yeah, I think I have almost every religion in my family background.
I haven't.
Which it's hardly surprising.
Right now.
It's hardly surprising that I studied theology.
Whoa, this is very interesting. Actually, this is very interesting background. So. Let's talk about the last.
But religion is dependent on culture and therefore dependent on language as well.
Yeah, it is. So,
what is our time?
Guys, Professor Tim left a little bit because he had a schedule about teaching, and after that we are together again.
It's extraordinary that the teaching gets in the way of basic education.
Professor is always professor. We cannot do anything about it, actually. Let's continue then. Tim, what's your opinion about Islamic art and the version of the Christianity? So, there's a common item. Islam, the people of Islam, cannot draw anything, actually, because it's forbidden
It's
by the
haram.
Yeah, it's haram exactly. So
But it's not in fact true.
Yes, yeah.
There's a great deal of art in the Islamic world, and that there are artistic institutions and Zaha Hadad and all this sort of plastic art. I mean, architecture is art you walk through, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's just different understandings of art, different disciplines of art, and constraints on art. All great art improves if you put a constraint on it. Mm-hmm. If you say, well, you must do it, you must do it in black and white, or you must or whatever. But yeah, there are problems with art and Islam, of course, because Islam introduces iconoclasm, but iconoclasm has turned up in Christianity and in Judaism, and it is a common feature. It turns up in the ancient world as well. The real question is, what is art doing, and can it interfere in religion, or can it enhance religion? I personally think art is a wonderful expression of communication, and I think that what we're doing at the moment, film, is a form of art.
Yeah.
And ideally it's visual rather than verbal.
Yes, but my question is actually Islam didn't have a Michelangelo, but Michelangelo was the first artist of the Pope in the Renaissance.
Well, he was important, and the Renaissance in many ways would the main Renaissance wouldn't have taken off without the patronage of the Pope. But the popes and the Church had patronage, had the opportunity of patronage because of the money and because of the system of power, and because the Church controlled education.
Yes, exactly.
And it could have gone in a different direction. You don't have exactly the same experience, for example, in the Byzantine world. You do have the patronage of art, but it's very much an imperial tradition rather than a church tradition. The church is not as powerful in the Eastern world.
But it's very interesting because I know that when the Pope for the cadaver, making a cadaver and studying on the cadaver forbidden by the Pope, but in the Islamic world, the
Leonardo da Vinci and Michelangelo both broke that rule. But there were many rules that they were breaking.
But it was free in Islamic world, and after that, it's very interesting because we couldn't make statues.
Yes.
But Michelangelo.
But there was censorship in the Islamic world as well. For example, Averroes and that great explosion in the 13th century was then suddenly stopped in the 13th century. You're going too far. You're exploring. And that idea of the control of religion, you get it in Catholicism, you get it in Orthodoxy, you get it in Judaism, and you get it in Islam. Oh my goodness, maybe they're threatening the principles of control. Maybe the religion itself will not survive this upheaval. But the religion is the community, and the religion is about extending the experience of humanity.
Yes, but still art was provided by the popes and the church in that time instead of the Islam.
And the difference between the Orthodox Church and the Catholic Church is that art was seen as a decoration.
Yeah.
As art is seen as a decoration in Islam. It's not central to Islam. Whereas in Orthodoxy, art becomes a central feature of Islam, of the Christian message. It becomes part of the principle of theosis, which is, theosis goes back to a thing that Athanasius says, God became man that man may become God. That sounds quite heretical.
Yeah.
But it is basically the idea that the incarnation gives human beings the opportunity to achieve all that was ruled out through the fall. Now, actually Islam is already offering that opportunity. But then you suddenly get censorship.
Yeah.
You suddenly get restrictions. There cannot be restrictions on the mind, because the mind is the closest that we have to God. The mind is our ability to transcend our humanity.
But also we didn't have Dante, actually, because
No.
Divine Comedy.
Partly because Islam tries not to speculate too much, like Judaism, about the afterlife. But Dante is the most wonderful piece of mythology ever.
Yeah, I agree with it.
And it's not terribly realistic, but it is fascinating and beautiful poetry.
Yeah, also we can say John Milton for this subject.
John Milton, of course.
Yeah, we didn't have actually this kind of beautiful piece of arts in the history of the Islam.
And also Islam doesn't really have a great tradition of theatre. But that's because theatre and art were part of that attempt to communicate with the illiterate, and Islam had a different form of religious activity. So you have this tradition of reciting, and you have this encouragement of people learning the Quran by heart. That isn't part of the Christian tradition. It is part of Protestantism.
Whoa.
Well, learning the Bible, being able to quote various bits. That is one of the things you sit there in awe at some of the Protestant traditions, who are just people who've been brought up on that, who can just quote pages from the Bible. I can't.
I'm wondering that. What's the politics role in these traditions? Because can you say that in the contemporary world, for Islamic world, actually, what's the political way to understand or to share our traditions? Actually, the perspective of the politics.
The politics is getting. The global politics is getting very worrying.
Yeah.
Partly because there's simply there's this sort of image of Islam, which is very negative, and being powered by forces in the West, which see Islam as militant, as aggressive, as proselytizing, and as a challenge to the Judeo-Christian history. But that's partly because the Judeo-Christian history has been weakened by the Enlightenment, and there's a move towards thinking. I said earlier, religion isn't something you do on one particular day. It's something that ideally controls the entire community and the life of the community, and there's an assumption that it doesn't in Christianity and in general Judaism. In Orthodox and Hasidic Judaism, of course, it is part and parcel of the whole thing. And in some forms of Christianity, it continues to be part and parcel of the whole thing. But you only have to listen to people talking about places of worship. And worship in religion, and you think there are many things that happen in a religious context that are not worship. Funerals, for example, are not worship.
Not worship.
And this is about taking a very secularized version of Christianity and then projecting that onto everybody else. My big gripe is that in Britain, which I know much better than I know many other countries, religious education is very poorly taught, and it's taught as a form of comparative religion, but from the viewpoint of, because it's so badly understood, it's always from a viewpoint of the teacher's position, which is generally some form of Christianity, and so you go through. You have syllabuses which identify religions in terms of their rites of passage. A religion is significantly more important than a rite of passage and a few ceremonies that take place over the year.
Yeah, and
we're not going to change this negative understanding of Islam until we change religious education and until Islam manages to demonstrate its history. So, for example, there would be no Renaissance. We talked about the Renaissance a few minutes ago.
But
there would be no Renaissance without the Islamic contributions in the 8th century and the 13th, up to the 13th century. Now, why there's a gap from the 13th century through to the present day is distressing, and it's also perhaps distressing some of the traditions that have taken over, the Wahhabi tradition, and particularly the way that has been promoted in Pakistan and has then been moved up into Afghanistan. If the only education that you give to people who are illiterate is a very extreme understanding of Islam, then you are opening the door to chaos. The joy of Islam from the 8th century through to the 13th century is the breadth of Islam.
Yeah.
And all you have to do is go out into and look at the older Turkish mosques, particularly the Sinan mosques, and what you see is a prototype of what becomes an Oxford or Cambridge college, or indeed a monastery, where you've got the religious building surrounded by a cloistered environment, which encourages people to live, people to study, people to think, and people to meet.
Yeah, but what happened then? What happened, and why we lost this chance actually?
I can't speak about it. I'm looking from the outside. I'm looking in, and I'm saying there's so much. I was brought up in Oxford, and you go into a college there, and you've got water in the centre of the college. You've got the quad, and you get exactly the same sensation that you would get if you're walking through Istanbul and all the noise, and you go through those little gates into a very quiet space. You might hear water, a fountain. You think this is an Oxford college.
Yeah.
Or this is a monastery. I was a monk for a short period. I got thrown out.
Yeah, I know that.
But I'm sorry.
No problem.
I can't surprise you, can I? You've done too much research.
No, I hunted you very specifically and very detailed.
Anyway,
so
have I answered your question, or have I deflected?
Yeah, and you know what? I didn't write any question more because I just want to ask my questions from my mind. Because when I write down my questions, when I ask it, you answered.
I answer all of them. I'm so sorry.
It's very hard times for me actually.
Yeah.
This is my hardest time in my career. Okay, never mind. So anyway, so actually my questions about the AI. AI. So what do you think about the future of the religion? Because we are getting more and more being like a machine, and the machines contributed our lives more and more. So what do you think about the AI? Could AI create a god or a religion traditions?
I see no reason why not, first of all. But secondly, humanity doesn't improve by suppressing progress. We embrace progress, and then we develop with it. So AI, I think it's not unlike when sound came into cinema and people were frustrated about that and anxious and worried about that, or when people moved into the digital realm and they were anxious about that as well. AI needs to be embraced. That's the first thing. The second thing is, could it produce its own organization? Why not? You come back down to this idea, what unifies religions? What is religion? Religion is about community and is about aspiration. And AI, a thinking machine, first of all, I don't think that's ever going to be possible. Our understanding of thought, our understanding of what thinking is different. If we define it in different ways, yes, AI is already thinking.
Yes, absolutely.
But it's not thinking in the way that you and I are thinking. You and I are thinking in a sort of completely chaotic way,
Yeah.
where we are joining ideas that have never been joined before. Now, AI can't do that at the
Yeah.
moment. Can it do that in the end?
What about the consciousness?
Well,
Can I get this quality?
again, what is consciousness? There's some people who will tell me that trees are conscious. Yeah, they really do. They hug a tree, make it happy. And I don't subscribe to that idea. I'm not, I don't want to upset tree huggers. Trees don't feature in my intellectual life.
Yeah, okay.
But
also-
equally, I don't think the consciousness of a tree is comparable to the consciousness of you.
Of me, a cat.
It's different, and
Yeah.
that's the difference between AI
Uh-huh.
and us. It's a different range of consciousness. So maybe a tree has some sort of, a daffodil has consciousness in some way,
Yeah.
but it's not like you.
Yeah, absolutely. But I don't know. I seem like the future will be more chaotic than our time.
Well, why should it be? Where does AI come from? So, the daffodil and the tree are manifestations of the divine, are they not?
Uh-huh.
Let's be very religious about it.
Yeah.
And so are you. And so is AI. That's simply something that we have developed through the fortune of the divine.
So you say religion will be continue end of the time, even if the humanity will be gone.
Even if humanity is gone, machines will find a way to be
Yeah.
religious. Yes, because religion is about aspiration.
Yeah.
And if machines can aspire,
Still.
then they will be religious.
Yeah. So then I just want to come back, and I remembered that.
So a machine, a thinking machine, if we had a thinking machine, it would be asking, where did I come from?
Oh, this is a very good question, actually.
Where am I going?
Yeah.
What happens if I'm switched off?
But
these are fundamental questions
I
about
know.
our existence. And if AI can think, then it will be thinking about its
Yes, but
existence.
we always talk about to thinking. But what about the forget? Can AI forget something? Can AI forget their producers, their creators?
You mean could there be an Adam and Eve event as
Yeah.
understood
Yeah.
in Islam?
Yeah,
I don't. AI doesn't forget,
exactly. So
but it can glitch.
maybe,
The great glitch.
maybe, yeah.
The great glitch.
They
yes.
create a myth, maybe.
It would be a myth.
Yeah,
Myth. Our humanity is written in myth, right the way back to
we still.
right the way back to the who are the brothers in the Babylonian myth, Marduk or somebody that bashed his brother and then created the world on on the chopped up remains of his brother.
I know the story, but I don't remember the name again.
Yeah.
Yeah, but okay. My question is that, by the way, we talked about the Dante and the Wayne comedy.
Yes.
So Dante mentioned that it could be a little bit speculation about it, but I really want to learn what is your perspective on it. So, according to Dante, Muhammad was
yes,
a
he's in
missionary.
one of the circles of hell.
Yes,
Yes,
and he
is tearing his hands, tearing his limbs off. I think
he's in the Inferno, actually.
he is in the Inferno
Because he educated by Waraka.
because he's a schismatic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's your point about this myth or?
Well, Dante is simply talking from his own ignorance. He didn't know Muslims. He hadn't come across. He knew about
Something about
Islam,
Islam,
but all he knew was that it was a distortion of Christianity. As he would also place the Cathars in hell as well,
But
and other heretics.
divine comedy has very huge effect on the Christianity. Can I say that?
No,
No.
it doesn't.
Really? Okay.
It's a very beautiful understanding of Christian myths about the afterlife, and it articulates the Catholic belief in purgatory, which is not shared by Orthodoxy.
Yeah.
Orthodoxy believes that the gates of hell are open, and that there are people. My tutor in Oxford was one of them who believes that all creation, including Satan, can be redeemed.
This is a very interesting idea.
But he doesn't go so far as to go to this wonderful thing called apokatastasis, which is a sort of cyclic idea of creation. But in the end, all of that is looking at Epicurus and the triad thing about how can a good God live with evil, and the answer is evil is simply the absence of good, and ultimately God will be everywhere. But I don't think there's a concept. If God is all powerful and everywhere, evil is simply a failure to see things clearly.
Yes. It's more like the perspective of the Spinoza about happiness, because he says you are happy, just you cannot see it.
Yes, you just cannot see it.
Yeah.
Exactly. So you are good, you just don't realize it.
Yes, exactly. And Socrates says if a person who don't have the information of the being good, that's why he is bad, actually.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because he's sort of ignorant, really.
Yeah.
But we've got a little in the West. We've got a little bit obsessed with Aristotle.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think Aristotle ultimately is not right. He's boring, but he's also fundamentally wrong. He's quite right about habit.
Wow.
Habit is so the idea that we're not naturally virtuous. We have to get into the habit of becoming virtuous. But ultimately, his problem is he sets everything. He's setting a goal. Our goal is not to be. We don't ever achieve our goal. Our goal is over there, and we're striving for perfection, because perfection is not something we as human beings, as created beings, can ever achieve.
Yeah.
But we can. That is our goal.
Yes.
It's like Mary Poppins. If you reach for the heavens, all you get is the stars. That's Mary Poppins rewrite. That's a theatre production. Wonderful song.
So what about Avicenna's perspective? Because he says, the possibility of the theory and he proved the God with the theory of the possibilities.
Well, the proof for the existence of God is really the practice of abstract thought, and it's really important. Avicenna, I'm not convinced. There's a fellow. What's his name? I can't. What his name is now. There's a great enthusiasm in Western philosophy of religion for the Islamic scholars and saying, oh, maybe this works. But ultimately, I think the only proof for the existence of God that really works or gets close to it is the ontological argument.
Yeah.
Id quo nihil maius cogitari potest, Anselm, which Thomas Aquinas doesn't like.
Yeah.
And there is an Islamic version of this, but again, it's ultimately not satisfying, because in the end it comes down to a linguistic quibble, and you're playing around with the meaning of words.
Yeah,
but that's fun.
But I think the trying to prove existence of God is very, very personal thing.
Yep.
You always think with your mind, and the God's creating from your mind.
But that is the great discovery of Islam. So if you have a revelation of God through the Quran, through the Bible, or whatever, And if God has also created your mind, then your mind should be able to get to the same point. And that was the idea that Aquinas then picks up. And that's great. I entirely agree with that.
Yeah, and which is very interestingly, you cannot say revelation without saying evolution. You need that evolution in your mind to.
So there are people who've, I think Gödel has, or someone influenced by Gödel has taken sort of mathematical approach to the proof of the existence of God, and has sort of pretty well got there. But in the end, it's sort of frustrating. It's not the goal and the achievement. It's the quest. This is the Holy Grail.
Okay, that's very good.
Not Monty Python's version.
That's good. So the last question, and it could be the top one actually.
Oh.
Yeah. What do you think about Islam, and what is your opinion about the political role on Islam?
You're asking me the same question I just narrowly skirted away from a few minutes ago.
But
I think Islam is wondrous.
Really?
Yeah, it's given us, so from an artistic or theatrical point of view, it's given us a wonderful culture. I would like to write a book about the theatre of religion.
Whoa.
And Islam, even if it's iconoclastic, it's still highly theatrical.
Yes.
Isn't it?
Yes. You have a point.
So and it's quite sort of everybody doing the same sort of thing. It's very choreographed. It's very beautiful to watch, to listen to. I presume it's very beautiful to participate in, and you get caught up in that experience. It's made a great contribution to society and to the history of the world, our thought. It's not something I'm going to embrace because I've already I think I put my foot in so much religion.
Yes.
I'm not going to go there, but I would encourage other people to. However, I don't think I think Islam has a mission to convince the naysayers that it is not a threat, and that they are misinterpreting it, and that move. You've now got people like Trump in power, and you've got some very worrying people in the UK inching up into major power who are saying appalling things about Islam.
Okay, I got it. Okay, so
we need to change that.
Yeah.
And Islam has a role. It's not simply that the West has to change its mind, or that people in the West have to change their mind. It's that that there has to be there has to be some education.
Yeah. So can we say it needs? The Islam needs. How can I say? It should be adopt its time.
It needs to communicate, and it's a lot of religions have not communicated.
Yeah.
And the problem is when they do if they try and update themselves, which is what Roman Catholicism did, it created a mess for about 40 years, from the 1960s to today. It's still not quite sorted itself out.
Yeah.
If you change your traditions, which is what Catholicism did, you create chaos.
But everything births from chaos.
No, it doesn't really. God might do everything from chaos. We don't.
Okay.
So simply to mix things up doesn't produce a solution, as Mr. Trump is demonstrating. Chaos comes out of chaos. What is it? Out of nothing comes nothing. Nothing comes from nothing.
Yeah, nothing comes from nothing.
Nihil fit or whatever. chaos is not is not something that's particularly helpful.
It's I mean,
So you mustn't abandon your traditions.
uh-huh,
The traditions define your culture,
uh-huh,
but you can explain those traditions, and you can you can speak the language of people outside those traditions. Religion doesn't need to be insular. It doesn't need to be trapped, and it should explaining what defines you, what you believe, is not necessarily the same as trying to convert people.
yes, yes,
And that's something that I think we haven't quite come to grips with. And we should recognize that because religion is so central to our culture, it's something we should share. And it's very difficult to share something
Absolutely.
if people are excluding non-believers from it, and they're sort of, it's very difficult to enter. There's different language, there's different traditions.
Yes.
And then you've got this rather patronising approach of Western Protestantism calling everything worship.
Everything's yes. I read a book and they say if you interested in the nature, it will be accepted as a version of worship in the Protestantism. It's a very interesting idea actually. And Mohammed says actually, how can I translate it? I don't know, but you will understand by of course. If the information is in China, you need to go there and take
Yes.
it and come back in
Yes.
your state.
So you go back to the 13th, to the 8th century, and this House of Wisdom,
Yeah.
and
House of Wisdom.
simply collecting information.
Yes.
But we now need to be doing this on a much more general basis. We need to be pooling information, and given the fact that we have AI and such information opportunities, it strikes me as extraordinary
Yes.
that we are communicating so badly.
Yeah, unfortunately. But we're still doing something in old school way. Like, yeah, it's good actually.
But not enough.
Not enough. We need more old school stuffs, I guess.
So we come back to religious education. As I say, it's appalling in the UK. I don't know what it's like in Turkey, but I know when I speak to small children, and I do that a lot.
Yeah, I know.
They're suddenly making comparisons and value judgments at the same time. And where did they get that from?
I don't know.
No.
No, I don't know. Do you know?
No, I don't know. I think they got it from prejudice and from ill-informed individuals who think they know something, and they don't. The position of ignorance is something to be celebrated, and the position of people who think they know is very dangerous.
Yeah, they are very dangerous. They are very dangerous. So, thank you very much. I'm serious about it. It was honor for me. It was honor all of my community.
I have gone on a bit, I'm afraid. I'm sorry.
No, it was perfect actually. I'm serious that. And ladies and gentlemen, Tim Wilson. Thank you again, Tim, and it was a pleasure for me. Thank you.
No, it's a pleasure for me too. Thank you very much.
Okay.